everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors Podcast. Woo-hoo! 2022! Looking at you. Pew, pew. Choo, choo. New year. What you gonna do? 2022. All right, so our new season officially starts in March. We are getting ready for Market Research March in prep for Self-Tape May 2022. But I know that it's a new year. Everyone wants to get it going and have some inspiration. So I'm re-airing our last season's Get Your Shit Together series. This is several episodes. Lots of actors who did what it took to get their shit together and then they got working. So this is for you. They are so inspirational, so exciting. I love you. New episodes in March. I will talk to you soon. All right, get your shit together. I don't know what that sound is. It's like a explosion of joy for your new year. Get it, book it. Hi, everybody. I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and this is season 4. Oh, my God. Looking to score 2020 in the new year, season 4. Jesse, what episode is it? Episode number 48. Feeling great about 48 and season 4. Looking to score. OMG, you guys. I am so pumped. For this season, I have been working so hard. I've been recording an episode a week since we went off the air last year, and I am so proud of you. I'm so proud on so many occasions, and I have loved hearing from you guys this year and seeing you out and about and around. It's just like, it's so exciting to me, this movement that we are making, this community that we're making. I know that we've inspired other people to start podcasts, to continue the movement of transparency and camaraderie and compassion and empathy. And I'm so proud of us all as a community. So I want to shout out to everyone who went to the meetup on Friday. Woo woo! And the live show. Woo woo! You know, maybe it was a disaster. I'm not sure. I'm recording this before that happens. So if it was a disaster, I apologize. If it was a good time, yay for all of us. So excited that we got that done. I'll have more about that next week. And you guys, this episode is so great. We're getting right to it. This episode is about exploitation. It's something that I'm so passionate about. We opened last season with scams. We're opening this season up with exploitation. To me, that's just people not paying you what you're worth and what your value is. And I met with Miata. Miata teaches this incredible class at the Actors Fund. It is free. You do not have to be a SAG-AFTRA member or an equity member to go to this class or take part in any of the Actors Fund services. You, in fact, don't actually have to be an actor. And I just want to be very real about this episode. It's maybe going to be emotional for some people, just like the scams episode was, because it's going to hit close to home. We are, in fact, going to be talking about money management, money awareness, money education, and empowerment financially. We're going to really get into why it is that, actors will make all this money on something, and then you'll see them waiting tables the next day. And we're going to talk about what that is, sort of take away some of the shame around that, and also hopefully set you up to ask for what you need to ask for. So maybe that doesn't happen to you if that's your next go around when you book your series. I remember watching all these Oprah episodes, and Oprah would be like interviewing somebody famous, and they'd be like, yeah, and then I made, $500,000. And then I was like in $40,000 worth of debt the next year. And, nobody tells you this and that. And I remember being like, well, tell us, Oprah. Tell us. Tell us what happens. And, she didn't. So here I am, you guys, just not Oprah, just here to spread the good word of truth about your financial well-being. This episode is sponsored by Kendra Shell. Kendra Shell, who's going to talk to you about your QuickBooks and getting your QuickBook business in order. As you'll hear Miata say, if you are incorporated, you should be on QuickBooks. It's also brought to you by WeAudition.com. That's WeAudition.com. You guys, I used WeAudition over the fall episodic season, and I booked this giant role, and I got 4 weeks of work out of it. So yeah, we audition. Yeah, shout out to Barry, who helped me with my We Audition. Promo code Audrey25. That's Audrey25 for 25% off. Also, just go be on there and be a reader, you guys. All right, you guys. I'm so moved beyond words about the possibility of this education and this movement. And how often do you think to yourself, like, right, well, they don't teach us about money because they don't want the working class to know about money because they want to continue to exploit us. And I'm like, right, so let's learn about money and let's encourage and empower each other to know that financial care is self-care. When you take care and track your finances and you are aware of your financial health, that is self-care. It's really important for us as artists and as actors. Okay, I love you, and I really hope that you're on your way to an audition. I know, 2020, you guys, there is going to be so many shows, 436 original scripted television shows in 2019, and the prediction is that will double in 2020. So I hope you're on your way to an audition, and I hope that you book it. Book it! Book it! Book the job!
Audrey helps actors because they don't know anything.
All right, everybody. Hi, I'm Audrey Moore with Audrey Helps Actors, and today we have...
Miata Edoga.
Hi, Miata.
Hi, Audrey.
So glad to have you on.
I am so excited to be here.
Good, yay. So I just want to preempt this for everybody. So Miata, you come to this work as an actress who found that she was poorly managing money. And you and I feel very strongly, are on this mission to educate actors about their finances, educate them about managing their finances, and bring empowerment through education, stop the shame cycle around it. And in doing so, my hope, which is part of my mission for this podcast, is really leveling up the whole community. And in knowing how much we are making truly and how much we are spending on our craft, then we can maybe get a sense of what our real value is and how much we're worth. And then we can ask for that and we can set ourselves up to receive that.
Absolutely. My mission is I truly imagine a world where there is a community of artists, a community of actors who have all decided to be financially powerful and to continually support each other in being financially powerful.
Love it. Love it.
The reason why I am truly, genuinely so excited to be here is because our missions are so aligned. And I think the first time I heard your podcast, I said, she's giving us power. She's putting the power in our hands. And obviously, that's what I am also passionately focused on, because what I know, I love how you said so kindly you were uneducated around your finances. Translate, I was a hot mess. I mean, just really close to disaster.
I think you were well in disaster.
Well, and I was well
swimming in disaster.
Swimming in disaster.
But what I love about it, as you listeners who aren't familiar with Miata will see, and those of you who are already know, you are a eloquent, intelligent, hardworking, passionate, super capable woman, right? Yeah. So if you are coming up against swimming in the depths of financial disaster, then how on earth are we going to expect more from anyone?
Right. And that is the myth.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the myth. And it's where I believe the shame comes from. Yes. Audrey, I grew up with parents who were so strict. I mean, I was the first generation in this country. You went to school, you got straight A's,
Yes.
B pluses were not acceptable,
Yeah,
right?
Yes.
And then you graduated from school, you became a doctor, you became a lawyer,
Yeah.
maybe a business person of some kind, maybe, right? But probably a doctor or a lawyer. And you most certainly didn't fail
Yes.
in any way, shape, or form. And so I did all those things. Went to school, got good grades, went to the great college. You know what I mean? Graduated with honors. None of that has anything to do with money. And we're not taught. Right? Imagine if I said to you, what do you mean you don't know astrophysics? Like, how shameful is that, right? And you'd be like, I never learned astrophysics. But yet, no one teaches us about money.
Yes, this is one of my favorite points, which I talk to actors about all the time. And it's actually brought a much greater sense of gentleness that I bring to myself, a gentleness in how I treat myself, in seeing how all actors I see treat themselves, which is you can't do better than you've been taught to do. If you don't have the knowledge and the tools, then your expectation that you should do better when you don't actually know better, actually truly know better, that's setting yourself up for shame.
Absolutely.
To feel the embarrassment about your given circumstances when I really believe for artists in specific, if there's no education on to manage the way in which we receive money, then how on earth can we be expected to work properly?
Absolutely. And here's the thing, right? We actually need to be better at money than quote unquote regular people.
That's right.
Because managing regular cash flow, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's certainly easier. It's far less complicated. And so we must actually learn how to manage all of the ups and downs of what we've chosen.
Yes, I really want to repeat that and emphasize that to everyone. And I couldn't agree with you more that because of the way our money comes into us, inflow of our cash, that we actually have to be far more diligent and aware of how we spend, how we receive, how we invest than any person who gets a regular, steady paycheck.
Absolutely.
And I would really like to challenge this myth about actors, this stereotype about actors and artists as being people who are sort of wishy-washy with numbers and hate math and are irresponsible and all those sorts of things.
Absolutely.
And I would really like to challenge the actors listening. Tell your friends, start holding yourself and start holding each other accountable. Listen, we are done, you guys. We are done with being financially illiterate as a group.
Absolutely.
I'm finished.
As far as I'm concerned, please, can we shatter this whole paradigm of the starving artist, of the flaky artist? And I'll throw out, go ahead and separate money from math if you need to, right? Math, absolutely in no way, not my strongest subject. And here's what was told to me that I believe over the years I have seen proven true.
Yes.
If you passed 5th grade math, you are fine.
Okay, great.
You are absolutely fine.
Yes.
Okay? So basic addition, subtraction,
division, just a small part of division.
Little bit with the movement of the decimal points, right?
Yes.
But promise you,
Yes.
5th grade math, we're all good.
Okay, good. We have calculators now.
Yeah, exactly.
We have plenty of resources. If I told you, listeners, those of you listening, that the literacy of your finances is going to be an essential component to the consistent, continued success of your artistic life and your personal life, because your finances affect your personal life. I really want you to understand that this is a very important conversation. We're going to be talking a lot about this over season 4. And I really want to shatter a lot of the expectations and old ways of thinking about our career path.
Absolutely.
Okay,
and
great.
recognizing that when you are working on your money, you are working on your career.
I think that's so great.
They're inextricably linked.
You have an accounting department, and it is you.
Oh, I love that. An accounting department.
I say it all the time. Yes, I know, you guys, that you don't want to read your checks. I can't. I just want you guys to know personally, like just my friends alone, just my friends who text me, who know me well enough that they believe that they can share their checks with me, right? And they will text me and they'll say, "Does this look right to you?" The number of times that it is not correct, that they are missing thousands of dollars, is consistent across the board. Wow. You have to read your checks. You have to know where your contract says you earn X amount of money. If you're not sure if something's right, you have to ask if it is correct. Don't call me. Call SAG. Call production. Don't call me. But you have to check it out. And your agents it is not their job, in fact. It is, in fact, not their job. It is, in fact, not SAG's job. It's your business. And you have some employees called agents, and you have a union called SAG-AFTRA. But at the end of the day, it's your checks. It's your days on set. It's your money. And are you willing to lose a couple to several thousands of dollars because you just didn't go to like 1 or 2 contract meetings and then read your checks? I'm talking 1 or 2 contract meetings, 6 hours max of your time, right? Plus reading your checks, 10 minutes. So I'd love for you to tell them about the place that you found yourself in when so many years ago, and the term that you use, which I really love, is being financially upside down. Yeah. So for those of you listening, Miata teaches an incredible course at the Actors Fund, a few courses. The Actors Fund, not just for actors, here to let you all know.
Yeah.
The saying is the Actors Fund, not just for actors. So if you are listening and you are a writer, if you are in a relationship and you are an actor and you are in a relationship with a writer, a producer, a dancer, anyone involved in this industry, you together can sign up for this class and you can take it and you can start to untangle and get clarity on your finances.
Yep.
Tally-ho.
For everyone.
For everyone.
In entertainment.
It is free. I repeat, it is free. You do not have to be a union member to take this free class.
Stunning, right?
Listen, because a lot of people are like, well, I'm not SAG-AFTRA. And I'm like, no, that's okay. It's the Actors Fund doesn't actually require that. So the Actors Fund is an incredible thing that we will have a whole episode on, but you teach there. And so tell me about the place that you found yourself in when you were financially upside down.
So what happened for me was that I came out to Los Angeles really believing that I had a plan. Right?
Yes.
There wasn't a wonderful podcast like Audrey Helps Actors, but I still believed I had a plan of attack, and I had saved money, and I thought I had a budget, right? But I very, very quickly realized that I wasn't working enough as an actor to pay all of my bills.
Great.
Now, it was very vague. I just knew I wasn't earning enough, right? And so I went out and I got a day job. And for me, that turned into day jobs, plural. I, at one point, did actually have 10 part-time jobs at the same time. And, the irony of it was that I kept saying, I need time to pursue my acting career while adding on all of these jobs.
To try and make ends meet.
To try to make ends meet, but still avoiding any sort of regularity, which just bit me a million different ways.
And was that because you felt like you needed flexibility / time for your acting career?
Yes.
I really want to talk about this very important conundrum that you and I have addressed.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the number of times that actors say to me that they have fragmented job situations because they want to have the flexibility for their acting career. And then they know that they need to take a class. They need to get new headshots, any number of investments, right? And they can't afford.
Exactly.
Because they now have the flexibility for their career, but they do not have the finances to finance their career. And so I'm like, okay, so you've traded in financial flexibility for available flexibility. But if being available isn't getting you the results that you are looking for, then why are we being so available?
Exactly. And so I believe that we are both vague. We have historically been both vague about our money and also vague about our time. Right?
I preach.
Yes.
Miata, preach. This is when I took Miata's class, all I did was go, preach, Miata.
Yes, it was
preach,
wonderful.
girl.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And so what ends up happening is that we come out with these blanket phrases. I need time to pursue my career.
Yes, right.
But I hadn't really looked at what did that mean,
Yes.
right? Because Audrey, at that point in my career, if I was honest, I was auditioning, if I was lucky,
Like once every few months.
once a quarter.
Yeah,
exactly.
Very
So
common.
what exactly was it that I was trying to
Making
be
fucking time
available
right?
for?
The idea, right?
Idea.
The idea that people teach you, you have to be flexible.
Exactly.
And so I'd really like to talk about this one step further. You know, both can kind of suck. So which sucks less to you? And to be crass about it. So you have a job, right? And let's say a job with some flexibility.
Right.
Maybe not a corporate job, but you wait tables or you bartend, the sort of, typical actor jobs, which allows for some shift flexibility and also some larger financial returns on your time, right? And not a ton of consistency maybe, but generally overall, you could probably get a sense of how much you're making each shift-ish, right? A lot of actors feel, well, it's just so stressful for me when I have that job to try and get my shifts covered and to try and get somebody to take my shift and to do all that sort of stuff. And then what if I book the job? Then how am I going to be available to go, do that job? And then I'll lose my job. And from my point of view, I'm like, okay, but right now, you can't get that opportunity because you don't have the money to put into the things you need to get that opportunity.
Right.
And because you're low on money, you're stressed out about money. So both are stressful. You're either stressed out about your job and finding people to cover, and it's stressful. Or you're stressed out about you have a job that offers flexibility and you could walk away from tomorrow, but you're not making enough money. So you're stressed out about money.
Right. And here's, I feel like, there's so many things here, right? Because first of all, it's not really true that the flexible jobs don't come with the pressures to still get covered and to write.
Oh,
they
yes.
still do.
Yes, that's right.
And what's interesting is I almost feel like it ends up being harder because it's not regular.
Yes.
And because you're not building a community of fellow staff members who might jump in and support you. And because you're dealing with multiple different employers who now you're pissing off because, So that's one interesting piece. Is I'm not sure that actually being over here is better. But the other thing we do is we write the story before it's happened, right?
Yes.
So I create the story that here's what's going to happen, Audrey. I'm going to go get that great bartending job. But then what will happen is that I won't be able to get my shift covered. And then they'll be angry at me. And then when I book the job, then they'll fire me. And then so I've written that whole story.
Yes.
Which means I have no way out.
Love all of that. Now let's tell them a little bit about where you landed financially once you started taking a look at your lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I've told this story a lot that I actually nearly missed the curtain for a play that I was in. I think I told you this story,
you did.
but I was waiting tables at a job, and I was supposed to get out in plenty of time to get down to the theater, and my replacement didn't show up. And it's a long story, but because I was so desperate for that cash, the cash from that shift, I pushed it really, really far, right?
Yeah.
And also had a totally unreasonable manager who was threatening me and all of that
But
stuff.
also what happens in what, because you and I are going to talk a lot today about exploitation, where it's going to be like the subject of today. When you put yourself in that financial position and then you allow yourself to emotionally be so fragmented as a reflection of your financial fragmentation, you are setting yourself up to be exploited and abused.
Absolutely. And she absolutely did. And I remember clear as day her saying to me, "You want to walk out of here, you take off that apron and you leave every penny on this table," because she was like refusing to close out my register. And she was like, "You walk out of here with a dime, honey, and you're stealing."
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I really needed
seriously.
needed the money, and I took her very seriously.
You would put yourself in a power dynamic that is remarkably unhealthy because of a financial way of living that you had, I feel, really just sort of like most of you listening, just sort of incrementally found yourself in eventually. So you were late.
So I nearly missed a curtain. I got to the theater 8 minutes before the show started. But that for me was rock bottom. It really was. It was a devastating situation.
Because you had put your money and this job ahead of your art.
Ahead of my art. And in such a blatant way. I mean, there were other cast members. There was an audience. Where my life had gotten to nearly massively impacted
A great deal of people.
a large number of people. And so it was a breaking point for me, and I think it actually really was like a nervous breakdown, and I cried for a really, really long time. But it also, for me, Audrey, was when I realized I have to fix this. I have to figure out how to get my shit together financially if I am going to continue down this path.
No, here's what I love about what you just said, because I think this is really important. And if you haven't come to this place in your career, then, just wait. And hopefully you have this several times in your career, because it means that you are moving forward, that you're moving forward authentically. You are not walking around in denial. But I have continually come to places in my life and my career where I thought, the way I'm currently doing this is not sustainable. Whether that's the nerves I had around an audition, whether that's the way I was handling relationships in my life, whatever it was. And I thought, if I'm going to keep doing this, I have to reassess.
Yeah.
And what I love is what I talk about all the time on this podcast, which is you then began a mission to change your behavior. And that's the big thing, because I think that this podcast, like a lot of content out there, can be just really inspirational.
Yes.
And listen, I live for inspiration. You guys, I live for it. However, I'm very cautious not to just get on a cycle of continually inspired, what I'll call false starts, right? So it's like turning on the engine, but it just doesn't turn over, right? So tell them the number that you got to when you finally looked at your finances and came to the place where you thought, I need help.
Okay. So at that point, and obviously it took me it took me time to figure out what I didn't know and needed to know.
Yes.
But it turned out I was almost $80,000 in credit card debt.
Love this number because you guys, to some of you, that's going to be like, what? And I mean, to most of you, you're going to be like, whoo. And a lot of you are lying to yourself. You are lying to other people. And your number does not look so different. And for many of you, which we'll get into, even if it's not credit card debt, you know, the millennial generation, we are hammered with student loan debt.
Yes.
In a way that no generation before has ever had to face. And as you saw from the recent, you know, OK Boomer hashtag, right? Making 20% less than the Boomer generation on a whole, right? So when you hear that number, just think to yourself. Now, if you are a person who is financially free because of family circumstances, because of marital circumstances, maybe you are a second act actor and you have managed some passive income for yourself at this point. I want you to stay with me because even though this isn't your story of $80,000 of all these jobs, money management is still vitally important, especially I always say, like, okay, well, if your parents are helping you pay the bills, how long are our parents going to pay the bills for?
Right.
And do we have a plan for how long that it's comfortable for us to have them pay the bills?
Right.
If you have a spouse paying the bills, how long are you going to feel comfortable having someone else support your dream without a return on that investment before that may or may not corrode the agreement of a marriage and a relationship, right?
Because that's so huge, what you just said, right?
Oh, I see it happen all the time.
Starts to corrode the relationship,
Yeah.
right? Because it's very rare, even if we are being supported by family, by a spouse, it is very, very rare that truly is a completely
no strings attached.
open paycheck, or
That's
checkbook, like no
There are
strings attached.
expectations
Right.
that can be small to start, but grow in insidiousness.
Right.
And I personally don't know an actor, and I know them all, who has had an agreement of some kind financially where like the clock hasn't begun to tick at some point of like, what are we doing and how long are we giving this?
Right.
And do you want to set yourself up creatively in a relationship of how long are we actually going to be giving this dream?
Exactly. That
Right?
there's this timeline.
There's a timeline.
Right.
So to what degree is financial independence at some point a thing that you want to build and consider?
And it preserves the relationship when the person supporting you sees that you have a plan.
I so
right?
agree. Right?
When you are willing to communicate around what you intend to have your growth path be to independence,
Yes.
the reduction of their contribution over time,
I love
that is going to help them.
like one day,
with you.
I'm just going to bounce out, but I'm going to slowly increase this income and decrease my takeaway from you,
Right.
spouse or family member or whatever, right? Great. So for those of you, who are in that category, stay with us. So you found and also stay with us because I want you to have a great understanding of your fellow actor as well. Okay.
Absolutely.
So you're working 5 jobs, you have a nervous breakdown, you find yourself in $80,000 worth of total debt. And what I love is how you broke it down, that it wasn't like one day you're like, you know what I'm going to do? Buy 6 cars,
Right.
$80,000 in debt.
Exactly.
That is this slow incremental thing. And I want you all to be really aware, because I know I really tout the value of investing in your career, like really investing in quality stuff, right?
Right.
However, I want us to be very mindful of debt, and I want us to be very mindful of income as well. And are those ratios in what we'll call right side up, right? Or are they upside down? So
Right.
tell them about upside down and how you managed to do the $80,000
Right.
debt.
So what it turned out, which again required me to really do some figuring out, and this is a big part of the work that I do with
In the class.
students, exactly, is that I was upside down. I was spending on average, and I remember the exact number, $1,153 a month more than was coming in.
Great.
Right?
So she came to that number through some looking at your finances. And I want you guys to know it's a courageous thing to do.
Yeah.
You have to be ready to get out of denial. And I want you guys to know I have had moments of getting out of denial, and denial actually serves a really important purpose emotionally. Denial protects you. It is a protective thing. And when I have been snapped out of denial, it usually follows a serious nervous breakdown because I've been fantasy-wise protecting myself from a very painful truth, right?
Yes.
So you snapped out of denial. You found that you were upside down, and we're not going to tell them the whole process of that.
Right.
But that's something that in taking this class, you are given many weeks to prepare your money looking at in a way that can help you see on average how much more are you spending than you're making if in fact you're financially upside down.
If you're upside down, exactly.
A huge, that to me is the biggest, most beautiful point of clarity. I mean, just for you, if I could just tell you as a gift that you are giving, I feel so grateful. I feel so honored. I feel like God chose really well with you, Miata.
God,
I really do. And I feel that we are as a community so blessed that your fall became our rise.
yeah. And you don't ever know. You don't know, right? When I think about that week probably of crying nonstop, right? But then I also remember when I plugged in all my numbers, and I remember when the calculator came up, $1,153, right?
Yes.
But here's what I remember. I also remember it was like,
Yeah.
and I said, there it is.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
And I did feel a weight lifting in an interesting way.
It's like it's fucking math.
Exactly. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this explains it. Like this explains the chaos.
It's math. You're not bad. Take you out of the shame cycle, right? It's like finding out you're allergic to something, right? Like, oh my God, I just can't lose this weight. Oh, I'm allergic to dairy. And then I just cut out dairy and I lost 15 pounds by just cutting out, it's that, right?
That.
But it's that for your finances.
Right.
And it's as though and the analogy is actually like dairy just didn't make you gain weight. It destroyed your wellness and your life.
Absolutely.
Right? Yes.
Absolutely. And so denial, I totally agree with you that it protects us for a while. But then the issue is that, oh my gosh, do we fall hard, right? When we've been in denial for a really long time. One of my students said to me, and I thought this was so powerful, she said to me, it's like mold. And she said, you can keep painting over it, but the mold is still there. And when you keep painting over it, boy, does that ultimately really bite you in the ass. One of the things I just want to quickly say, right, is that I believe that we are always operating in either a pain cycle or a power cycle, right? And what defines the pain cycle is when emotion is driving our decisions.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Versus the power cycle where clarity and information are driving our decisions. Okay?
Yes. Okay.
So you're always going to have emotion because you're a human being.
And we're actors.
And right, exactly.
So we'll like really capitalize on that, right?
Emotion, we're good at it.
Yeah.
But we just can't let it drive. Okay. So now that I understand that, I can look back at what went on for me around these jobs and realize how clearly I was in the pain cycle.
Yes. Okay.
So I had 10 jobs, but there were 2 primary ones, okay, that I felt very strongly about. One of them, I was tutoring for the SATs, okay? And I loved that job. I was super excited to get it. I was tutoring for the verbal portion of the SATs. I loved teaching. I loved working with young people. And it paid something like, around $20 an hour, which at the time felt really good, right? So there was that one. And then I had one where I was doing paralegal work.
Yes.
Right? And I hated that. I hated it.
Yeah.
So it's a long story, but my mom was a lawyer and she used to make us work in her office when we were growing up. And I just felt like lawyers were mean and it was very stressful. Plus, everybody wanted me to be a lawyer, right? And so it was like, I'm not doing that. But I had all the skills. I typed really fast. I knew how to do briefs. And that job paid really well. I don't know, it was like $35, maybe even $40 an hour. Okay. But I hated that. When I actually sat down and looked, the thing about the tutoring for the SATs was that I was only being paid for the hour I was with the student.
Yes.
But they required you to drive to the student. So it wasn't like I was in a center. I had to go to each of these students' houses. I then had to drive home. I was assigned students in like the Pasadena area. So I was easily commuting an hour each way. I also had to prep for every student. I had to look at where they were. I had to prep for every student. So then this other job, though, you go. And you just work the hours and then you come home, right? And so...
And how far away was that job from where you live?
Oh, that's the other funny thing that I haven't even really looked at. Maybe 20 minutes.
Oh, see, I love.
Yeah,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
right,
Wow, I've never actually... But you're right. Like maybe 20 minutes.
To me, if you're living in a metropolitan area, as many of you listening are, the commuting time is very real.
Right.
And if it's a 45-minute commute for you to get to work and then 45 minutes back, that's an hour and a half of your time that you need to consider is a part of your compensation package.
Right.
And if you're not being paid for it, it's still time being spent to get ready for work.
And so what I realized when I actually sat down and looked at it, I was making between $4 and $5 an hour for the tutoring job.
Versus the other job.
So close to 10 times more. Really shocking, right?
But then you got the math.
But I was in the pain cycle where it was all about, I love this and I don't want to be a lawyer and I don't want to be in a law office and they're mean there and like all of that stuff, right? So when I got clear and I got the information, suddenly it was like, wait, I could go one place. I could have total clarity around my schedule. I could make my acting class at night without being exhausted and stressed out after driving all over the place, right? Because I was doing other things too.
Sure.
Bartending, catering, all of that other stuff.
Right.
I could let go of all of that. And what I also, because I wasn't answering phones, I did also ask, I said, if I had to go for an audition, could I? And then I'll come back and I'll finish the work, right? And the lawyer was like, as long as you get it done, I don't care, right?
Right.
And so for a while, that really worked. And it allowed me to stabilize, right?
Yes, stabilization, I think, is so important. We talk so much as people in this business about, emotional stability, that you have to have a lot of emotional stability because we do emotions for a living. So I'm always like, please get into therapy. Please, self-care to me should be a must because it's so chaotic emotionally. And I feel just as strongly about our health and stabilizing your health. For me, when I'm not in a place of health, it's harder for me to do my best work and enjoy this career path, right? And so I love the context of financially getting stable.
Yeah.
You don't even have to have wealth. Let's just start with some awareness and growing to stability.
Right. You know, the reason why I called my company abundance bound and not wealth bound, riches bound, is because it's not about the number. For everybody, that number is different. It truly is about the freedom with which you're able to do what you're here on this earth to do, to be able to take care of our health, to be able to take care of our mental strength, well-being.
Your relationships, your families, all of these things that are important to you in any given order, right? But wait, Miata, wait. I have to interrupt you.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you shit you didn't know about your union.
This shit you don't know about your union is brought to you by Kendra Shell. Hey, girl, hey. What's up? Okay, so I love Kendra. I've known her for a bit now. She is a huge fan of the podcast, and she has gotten her money together, and she is here to help you get your money together, okay? She is QuickBooks Online certified, which is fantastic. She's also an actor, so she knows, all the... we'll call them actor challenges that surround all of us and our unique financial organizational needs. I had those accountants on who were also actor accountants, and I really believe an actor is going to be able to help you set up your needs because they're aware of what your needs are differently than if you just randomly got some other QuickBooks person. They would probably look at you and your financial organizational needs and think that you're a crazy person for being an actor and for trying to organize your money in that way. She loves empowering people to take control of their finances just like I do. She wants to empower you and motivate and inspire you for your financial future. So if you can get somebody who's passionate on your team, I just think that's so important. As somebody who has grown their team over time, I can just tell you, when you have people who geek out about what they do, that's definitely somebody that you want on your team. So if you're not sure what QuickBooks is, I talked to Miata a little bit about what QuickBooks is.
I feel if you are incorporated,
yes, you should
be on QuickBooks.
I think that's a really solid, easy point to make.
And so what I will say, right, guys, QuickBooks has changed my life.
Ooh.
It really has, in terms of my knowledge about what is happening with my money. The level of detail is so exciting. I love knowing it. And I'm even more excited as my acting career grows to know the level of detail with that as well.
Yes.
But what Kendra does is Kendra helps you get your QuickBooks set up for you.
Great.
Okay? And that's super important because if I'm someone who goes and tries to watch a video to get QuickBooks set up, I promise you, I promise you, you will not get it set up properly.
Yeah, she comes, Miata and Audrey recommended. If you mention that Audrey Helps Actors, you get 25% off a package of 5 hours of personalized training. I am going to switch over to QuickBooks, and I'm going to call Kendra, and I also am going to use her. I'm very excited. All right, you can contact her at bookswithkendra@gmail.com. That's bookswith KENDRA@gmail.com. Mention Audrey Helps Actors to get 25% off a package of 5 hours of personalized training. Today on Shit You Don't Know About Your Union, I actually have another podcast I'm going to pimp out to you. So those of you who are writers may be familiar with this already, and those of you who are not, welcome to this incredible resource that I want you to have access to. So this is a podcast called Scriptnotes. It is two very legitimate, award-winning writers, John August and Craig Mazin. These two gentlemen have a podcast that is really popular, especially amongst the show business writer community. And they have started a movement called #PayUpHollywood. So since we are talking about exploitation, I really want you to go and listen to this episode that I'm posting in the show notes. It's a town hall episode. It's about an assistant movement. So basically, John August and Craig Mason, they were like, what is nobody talking about that's affecting Hollywood and nobody's talking about it? And the thing that came up was the poor treatment, both financially and emotionally, and sometimes physically, of the assistants in Hollywood, writing assistants, staffing assistants, personal assistants, the whole deal. They joined with like California Labor Board and all these incredible people, and they have started this movement called #PayUpHollywood. And I think it's really important that we as actors be aware of what's going on in the whole of this business. So it's in the show notes. It's the Scriptnotes episode of the Assistant Town Hall meeting. So listen to it. Okay, I love you.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
So let's talk about exploitation in an even larger scale of what a successful actor's year might look like and what the financial breakdown of that year really comes down to, okay? So let's say that you are booking a series in Canada, okay, and let's say you're making $10,000 an episode times 20 episodes, okay? So you're making she's reaching for a calculator. I'll get one. $200,000 for season 1. Let's say it's a show where you know you're going to get a full season. So that's great. They've given it the green light for the full order. So 20 episodes, $200,000. Now, because you are a series regular, you are also making $10,000 of a relocation fee. So you, for your actor self, feel like, woohoo, $210,000 for me. Now you're going to pay your agent out 10% of that. So $2,100 gone. Right? You're going to pay your manager out.
Oh, no.
Oh, great.
$21,000.
Sorry, great. Thank you. So you're going to pay your agent out $21,000 for their 10%. Okay. Also minus $21,000 for your manager. Great. Then we have, I don't even know if this is the rate. It may be substantially higher. You have Canadian taxes, 20%. So you're now down another $42,000, right? Then let's say you have taken this relocation fee. What's happening in a lot of these markets where there's relocating is actually they have housing available for actors and they jack up the price to an exorbitant amount because why wouldn't they? So what I have experienced is that you think this $10,000 is like a happy little bump when in reality you have to rent a place to live and then you have to rent all the furnishing. So this is a thing that you're not going to think about, right? And you may also have to pay for your transportation. Maybe you'll drive over there. Maybe you're not going to. So we're looking at that $10,000 goes maybe 2 months in paying for your living expenses. So we can minus $10,000 for those 2 months. But it's a 9-month shooting schedule. So $5,000 times 7 months, so 5 times 7, 35,000. So you're now down $35,000 just to live in the place wherein you are filming.
Right.
And I want you to know, these aren't inflated crazy numbers. Like I know people. You guys know I know people, right? So just on Canadian taxes, agents and managers, and the cost of living in this new place, what do we have left over?
We're down to $81,000.
You guys, we're down to $81,000. You haven't even been taxed by the United States.
Yep.
Okay. So now let's tax that by the United States. So go ahead and give us a good tax
so hold on to the 81,000 number.
Okay, I'm going to write it down.
But let's say that you're taxed 10,000. I'm going to be crazy conservative.
Okay, great.
Right? And I am only going to tax you 30%.
Great.
On that 210,000.
Okay, great.
So you are going to pay about $63,000 in taxes.
You guys, you are going to pay $63,000 in taxes. So $81,000 minus $63,000.
Yeah.
How much are you?
18,000.
You are walking away from season 1 as a series regular with $18,000. That makes me more upset than I even know how. I mean, I can't even explain it. But I want you to understand how easily the numbers that seem high turn into nothing.
Right.
So now how much is our takeaway?
$18,000.
$18,000.
Now, obviously, Audrey, there's a high possibility that this actor, when they booked the series regular, they incorporated and so that they keep more of this. But easy.
Yes.
You are not looking at walking away. Let's round this up to 20,000.
Right.
It may be if you've incorporated, you've kept a bit more.
Right. Yes.
But it's this clarity that probably not more than 50 grand.
Probably not.
Right.
And then I want to talk about this tricky shit that's going on, which Miata doesn't even know about. So you're saying to yourself, well, but I'm on a network television show, or I'm on a show that's going to do residuals, right? What's happening now, because of foreign sales, I've talked to my representation about this trend, is that you think you're getting paid $10,000 an episode. You're not seeing any residual checks. You call to find out, where are my residual checks? Because many of you are like, well, sure, but Audrey, then you get residuals, right? And what they've actually done is sneakily front-loaded your residual checks into your initial payment per episode. So you think you're making 10 grand an episode, you're actually making 7 grand an episode, and then you are not getting your residuals, and your residuals are getting taxed twice in 2 different countries. I have friends that have waited 3 years for their residuals to start showing up because they so heavily front-loaded their residuals in the beginning. And here's all I feel. If you know you're going to get taxed in Canada and you know you're going to have your residuals taken out, just know what you're actually making. And there, I hope, in lies your negotiation power.
Right.
Because knowledge is power. Now, you may be an actor that's actually not in a position of negotiation. You may have a particular kind of resume. You may have a particular kind of representation where you don't have negotiating leverage, where you're really the person who gets the benefit of this credit or this series or whatever line on your resume. And you just sort of are going to eat it for now. It's an investment in you, and you're the one taking the greater benefit. So if companies are going to go and try to get tax breaks by working in another country, and then you're going to be taxed twice, then what's actually happening is they're taking the tax break and they're offloading that tax responsibility onto you. And you may be in a position where that's what you have to take. But if you are not, if you are a person, if I can instill in you, and I know that I have done this already in this podcast, and I am so grateful when you guys give me, when you email me and you say, I just want you to know that you saying this helped me do this, and I saved X amount of money because of this piece of data that you gave me. It's like bringing me a bouquet of flowers, right, to my soul. That if you know that that's what's happening, and you know that you actually have negotiating power, that hopefully you can talk with your lawyer, you can talk with your representation, and you can say, what am I really making? Are they front-loading my residuals? Am I going to be taxed in Canada? If they're going to take $2,000 from me to be taxed in Canada, then I need them to pay me $2,000 more to cover the taxes that they're getting the tax break on.
Right. And if we don't know,
then how can we ask?
Then we're not asking.
That's right.
And we get precisely what we ask for.
That's so
and
right.
Not a penny more.
They do not offer it to you. I mean, this is one of the greatest things that I want everyone to understand about your contract literacy, about your financial literacy, is that they are not going to offer you what is rightfully yours. You must ask for it. And I want you to know, I have had success. I have many friends who've had success. When they just ask, they receive. Many of them very easily. They receive the yes, but it will not be offered. And they say to me, Audrey, if I didn't ask, I would have lost $15,000. And all I did was say, hey, I need you to cover that. And they said, okay, easy ask, easy receive. But if I didn't know, I would have taken the loss.
Right.
And I also want to be honest about your negotiating power. Like, be honest about it. Look at who you are. Look at what your power is, right? And then it's so interesting, Miata. Here's what I want you to know about the people who are on your side, quote unquote. The agent is taking commission on the $10,000. If you are getting now $1,200 an episode, they're making $200 more. So to what degree is it worth it for your agent to go to bat for you for an extra $2,000, right? Now, I would argue if your agent has your long-term best interest in mind, that hopefully they're thinking that way. But I have noticed there's this thing of if the actor will eat it, everyone will let the actor eat it because it's less work, less fire, less drama. Everyone, quote unquote, is happy. And the actor feels like, yay, I got this job. Right? So then what happens is you walk away with, we'll say, $18,000. And in walking away with $18,000, you don't get a season 2. And you booked a series. And so you went ahead and went to Europe for Christmas and you bought a new car.
Yep. You leased a new car.
You got a new car because you needed one. You honestly did. You needed a new car. You needed it. And then you're trapped in a shame cycle because you have to go back to a serving job. And it is incredibly painful for you to face. So you stretch it out and you don't go and get that serving job. You see if you can book something else. And maybe you even book like 2 guest stars. And maybe that guest star, one is top of show, one is a one day. Let's say their network. Let's say you walk with 10 grand pre-paying everybody out, right? You're still walking with 2,000 to 3,000 for that 10 grand, maybe a little more because it's not in Canada, right? And what you've done is you've now raked in tens of thousands of dollars in debt because you need to live and you don't want to get a serving job and because you have so much shame around it. And then 2 years after that series, you go back to serving, but now $30,000 in debt. And then when the network calls again and says, got another series for you, now you return to prime position to be exploited again. Because now your pride is so devastated and you're $30,000 in debt. And that's how this happens. And that's why I am so passionate about us ending this. We're going to end it, you guys. We are in a movement. You are going to share it. If you share no other episode with a friend, you are going to share this episode. You tell them they don't have to listen to anything else. They can skip by the song if they think it's condescending. They can skip it and tell them that you just need them to listen to this one episode.
Yeah. And it's what's so incredible to me as you lay that out is the realization that it is knowledge and understanding and work in this area that breaks that cycle, right? Because if I'm not in the position to negotiate and, you know, this is a great opportunity in so many ways for me, but I've done the work to create the financial stability for myself. And I have no fantasies about what this is going to mean financially. I go into it so much more powerfully.
I think so. And then I think you can relax about enjoying the experience of it.
Exactly.
Knowing that you're being paid to work for a season to be an actor and that your job is being an actor and you don't have to have a serving job while you have an actor job, that you get to be an actor for this year and can dispel the shame around then having to go back to a job that pays your bills, to go back to funding the growth of your career, and losing the expectation that that one job will catapult you into inexplicable stardom and wealth because you just shown so much. It may be a show that nobody watches. It may be a show that gets one season and that's it, and nobody notices, and it looks good on your reel, and it's better than not having done that show, but it's not giving you the kind of movement that you had idealized that it would give you. As Adrian, my current incredible agent, said when he came on the podcast, that one of the things he loves the most about what I'm doing is dispelling this myth that as you get further, it gets easier. And in his experience, as you get further, the more competitive it gets. So once you have your series, you're now against people with multiple series. You're now against people who have Emmys. And can you sustain a livelihood to keep you competitive? Can you sustain a livelihood so that you can put the time, energy, and money into the auditions the way that they may be coming now, that you have some serious momentum behind you? Did you financially plan so that you could give yourself a runway so that the next pilot season after that show didn't get picked up, you could spend that 6 weeks paying for coaches, paying for self-care, being ready to go in and kick some fucking ass and handle a level of momentum in your auditions and having the time and energy and money to be the best you can be in that section of time?
Because that's the other thing that I see. I love when I get to work with clients who have just booked a series, who are working regularly.
Yes.
But here's the thing. It's no joke. They need to hire publicists.
That's exactly right.
Right? They need to hire...
30 grand, you guys.
Yeah.
30 grand.
And they'll call me and they'll say, they're asking for $4,000 a month. I'm like, yeah.
Just for the publicist.
Yeah, just for the publicist.
Not including your hair, makeup, wardrobe, image, all that stuff, right? The shots you got to take for publicity to have. It's a whole other beast, right?
And sometimes you don't have the role where the network is willing to pay for you to go on the publicity tour but you're welcome to.
That's exactly right.
You will fund it.
And they love for you to fund
yourself.
They love to show up. And listen, can be mutually beneficial for sure.
Absolutely.
But if you are knowing that it's going to cost 30 grand, and if you do not plan to spend that 30 grand, then you are planning debt.
Right.
And Miata and I are on the same page with that. Fine. Choose debt. But choose it. Don't accidentally, I guess I will, it'll be over here, debt.
Right. And you choose it, and then you have to be willing, right? This is where, I want us to support each other in ending the shame around going back to whatever the job is. Right? Mm-hmm. Because that's how we actually are then able to invest in continuing to create opportunities. Yes. But if I'm hiding over here pretending that this series made me hundreds of thousands of dollars and I'm just fine now, guys.
That's right.
Then I can't climb. I can't change.
But wait, Miata, wait. I have to interrupt you.
Help me. I need some help.
And now it's time for listener questions.
I'm so scared.
So this listener question is brought to you by weaudition.com. That's weaudition.com. I continue to use it. You guys, I love it. I'm the kind of person that I need to read things through a few times. I need to get up and read it out loud. All of my best creative impulses come in the moment when I'm working it with somebody. So before I go to an audition, I've worked it with like 3-4 people, and a lot of those people are on We Audition, and I'm just sitting there and trying to get it in my body, get the words out of my head and into my experience, and make sure I'm having a clear communication. And if that's something that sounds exciting to you, I can't recommend it more highly. I'm telling you, I did we auditioned when I had these 2 guest star auditions, and everyone was booked up, and the only people available to me were people on We Audition. And thank God for a little Barry, you guys. He's a grown-ass man. He's not little, because I ended up booking a really nice job. I got 4 weeks of work out of it, and I am so glad that I had that resource available to me. So, promo code Audrey25 for 25% off. WeAudition.com.
Hey, Audrey. This is Nick. We have actually met once before at an Emmy after party, of all places, and you're very nice. So, thank you for that. But I just listened to the episode with the agent tell-all, and my question is, I'm kind of a late bloomer in terms of the acting stuff. I'm approaching my 30th birthday, and I have some training. I put in my work in filming my own footage, but I don't have any credits that are anything people would know of. And Adrian was saying how, this other actor that had like a ton of credits and all this stuff, and he was good, but at his age, at the age of, 30, I think it was also, he is competing with people who've been in the industry for much longer and so have more credits and stuff, and he's just not competitive enough at that age. And so I'm curious, is it really like too late? Like, I don't want to say I want to give up, because I really, really enjoy it, and this is something that I want to do. But also, obviously, I do have responsibilities and bills to pay and all this stuff, and I am spending money on resources and headshots and classes and putting footage together. And if I'm just not going to be able to break through and move up to the next level because I'm competing with these other actors that have so much more experience than me, and agents aren't going to want to take me on, then I'm going to have trouble I still don't have a theatrical rep after a couple of years at it. So I hope there is still hope on the horizon for someone that is kind of a late bloomer, but doesn't have the credits necessarily to back it up. Thanks.
Nick, I feel you, buddy. Nick, I just want you, you are singing the song of I'd say probably 80% of the people listening to this episode. So yes, first of all, reality check, Adrian's episode super crushed a lot of hopes and dreams. Talked to a lot of people, had a lot of nervous breakdowns after that episode, because they were really hearing things from the business side and the business perspective. So I want to first start by saying the majority of people that I know who are successful and working and consistently working and really working all the time, more or less, all really started working in their 30s. That's just true. I think it takes time to build a career of any kind, and an acting career with a 97% unemployment rate is, of course, no exception to that. So you're finding yourself in a very real place where you're looking at the actual viability and likelihood of being able to make a living as an actor, which is so much of what today's episode is really about. So Adrian is an agent over at Artists and Representatives. That is my current agent. Shout out to the Adrian Boo. Hey, Boo. And this is a higher level agency. So they're not taking people that aren't sort of immediately going to equal money to them. So I just want you to know that's not all agents and all agencies. You really get the agent that you are qualified for at the moment. There are a lot of very developmental agents out there and managers who really have passion, working with actors before they have any credits and getting them up. And, hopefully their hope is that you stay with them because they've proven themselves to you. And so just like an actor has to build their career and their clout and their status in the business, an agent has to do the same thing. So there are sort of like baby agents out there who are building their reputation and their place and carving in their place in the business. And they are excited to find talent and help mold and shape them to become full working actors. So those are the people that are more likely to take you on. Now, how effective those people are is, to be determined. And it's a part of what's really hard about getting momentum in the first several years of being an actor, is the people that usually will sign you aren't the people that can just immediately get you into any rooms. They are sort of lower on the agent totem pole, and you're an actor sort of lower on the actum totem pole. And you're working together to create some momentum forward. We do have to have a really honest conversation, though, about what kind of finances you need to make in order to consistently be able to make a living as an actor, and whether or not that's something that you want to really pursue. This is why I use the Olympics analogy so often, is that I really feel that so many people think like, I'll be an actor. And if I was like, no, but you want to be an Olympic athlete, most people would be like, oh, no, I just really like skiing and I'd like to make some money off of skiing. But you aren't somebody who is like, well, all of the commitment of time, energy, and money and sacrifice to be an Olympian, that's a very specific trajectory. And depending on your type, depending on your category, depending on all sorts of things, depending on trends within the industry, that's something that may happen easier for you. It may happen harder for you. You may be like a bobsledder in Jamaica, or you may be a skier in Colorado. That's something that has a lot of effect on how fast or easy this transition into acting goes for you. So I think it's a very real thing that people need to have a conversation with themselves about signing up for a lifestyle. One of the things I really try to create in this podcast is a full picture of the lifestyle of the working actor. When you have a huge hit and series, and then the coming down off of that, and the years and years of, often for many people, struggle just to get into guest star auditions, it's all very real. And how much is the cost of living in the city that you're working in versus the actual amount of money that you're going to make as an actor? If you booked 10 co-stars this year, you're probably going to make, 15 grand off of 10 co-stars. After you've paid your agent, your manager, taxes, you're looking at, 6 grand maybe that you're going to walk away with, 10 grand, depending on what you're doing. And that's not a lot of money. It doesn't go far in New York or Los Angeles in particular. And if you listen to the Scriptnotes episode that I had you guys recommended, what they talk about is called rent deficiency, I think, which is something that the labor of California uses to describe people who are not making enough money to cover their rent and their bills. So in order to not end up in rent deficiency here in the state of California and in Los Angeles, I think you have to make something like the low $50,000 a year after taxes. So if you book 10 co-stars, which would be like an awesome year, and you're maybe walking away with 6 to 10 grand once it's all said and done, that's not a livable wage. So the hope is that you don't just do co-stars for the rest of your life. The hope is that you take co-stars and you build to guest stars, and instead of working 10 jobs, you work, for $15,000, you work 1 job, 2 jobs, and you get $15,000. And so you do a few of those. But how much money do you need to earn as an actor in order to make a living after you pay out taxes and your agent and your manager and whoever else you have employed? That's a really excellent question. And you have to walk away with low $50,000. So that's probably around, at least 100 grand you need to make a year as an actor. 100 grand as an actor sounds great to you, but then your agent's only getting 10 grand of that. They're not as excited about 10 grand as they are about 350,000. Like, that's where you start really becoming financially valuable to these higher level agencies. So you're not there yet. That's okay. You're building a career. You're building your foundation of this very competitive business. And whether or not you decide that you want to keep it a business, that you want to be responsible for your full living, or whether or not it's going to be one of a couple businesses that you are a part of, or honestly, like an expensive hobby. A lot of people have really incredible expensive hobbies. Like my mom is really into quilting. She has a lot. She loves quilting and she's so good at it. She wins all the fairs. It's very exciting. And she buys a lot of fabric and really cool sewing machines. And it's like something that she's not trying to make a living off of, but she has another job that she makes a living off of. And then she has this other, hobby that can get very expensive, but it brings her incredible passion and joy and love and brings a lot of joy and love to other people. So, that's that, I think. Yeah, so Jesse calls me Cthulhu, Destroyer of Dreams, because, I get real. But I really want us to be honest with ourselves about what we're doing. I want us to stop lying to each other and stop being lied to. So if Adrian's episode scared you, I understand and I get it. And that is very scary. But I really want to reiterate, most people I know who really went off like gangbusters in their 20s, and that's not everybody, but most, they were done by the time they hit their 30s. They were like, F this noise, I'm out of here. And my friends who really started success in their 30s, they have careers that have lasted the test of time. I don't know why that is, but it seems to be what I observe. And just because you're 30 and you don't have credits yet, that's far more common than it is uncommon. And closing the gap is very doable if you're working properly. I think most actors aren't working properly. And so when you do, the rise to the middle, I find, is less impossible than maybe you think it is. Okay. Hope I didn't destroy your dreams. Love you, bye.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
So we're going to quickly just talk about a few things. I want her to just give you some information, you guys. I'm not going to do the 5 questions with Miata because we're going to do her own episode that you will hear at another date and time. But I want you to talk about a few things that actors are maybe doing improperly because they don't have enough information that are really valuable. So first, let's talk about the way that student loan money is received by these loan people and how that can really fuck over an actor and the artist.
Okay, absolutely, because it's almost shocking that it's legal.
It shouldn't be.
But it is legal.
Yes.
And so here's the thing I need everybody who's got student loans to find out. They have given you a number that you, quote unquote, have to pay every month. They've either said, okay, it's income based, right? So you don't have to pay anything right now, or you can pay $18 a month or $25 a month. Or they may even have said it's deferred, right? We're deferring it because you're not earning enough. The question you need to get answered is how much interest is being added to this loan on a monthly basis.
Right.
Okay? Because our first target is to at least be covering that so that we're freezing the growth of the loan.
Freezing the interest. Okay, you guys? So one of the things we talked about in our class is investments is money growing money, and debt is money spending money.
Right.
And so your student loan debt is money spending money. And we just want to make sure it's not money spending so much money that you'll never be able to get out of that debt.
Exactly.
Okay, great. So that's the thing I want those of you, millennial generation, hit horrendously hard by student loan debt. And I just want us to be literate about it, okay? So if you want more information about that, take this class. I also want to talk a little bit about some of the tools that people can use to start to understand how to grow themselves into financial, I would say, just awareness about how they're spending their money. So you teach this class and there's money tracking systems that you talk about. You want to talk about that?
Okay. So that which we track grows.
Yes.
Okay. We have to start tracking where our money is going, okay? I also want you tracking where your money's coming in, but I'm particularly focusing first on tracking how your money is going out. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Really, really simply, most of us we do not have more than 5 spending occasions in any given day.
Great.
Okay. Most of us, 5 is going to be the most. And so if you think about it for a second, even if just with a pen and paper, you wrote down those 5 things and you kept totals in all of the categories they're in, this would take you a couple of minutes a day. Okay. But the reason I don't want you to just use a pen and paper is because that then requires you to keep doing math and keep adding it up.
Well, we have computers now, so
We
not
have
necessary.
computers now. We have smartphones now,
Yeah.
right? So to me, ultimately, the minimum is a spreadsheet
Yes.
where you're entering your numbers into a spreadsheet. But where I'd love to see everybody get to ultimately is software.
Great.
Right? So I know that you made the Quicken choice.
That's right.
And that requires a willingness to learn it and to get over the hurdle.
And I was also already at a place of, I would say, financial awareness
Right.
before I began this class. And so adjusting to Quicken, though, I equate it to learning a new phone.
Yes.
It kind of sucks for a few hours while you learn the new phone, right? So learning Quicken was kind of like, for a second. And I intend to graduate to QuickBooks
Right.
within the next few months.
Yeah, which
Right.
is brilliant. I used Quicken probably for like 10, 12 years
Yeah.
before ultimately graduating to QuickBooks.
Right.
And that was a process for me too. But you could use Mint,
Okay.
which is free, right? Lots of ads and all of that stuff. But you could use Mint. And that's sort of the kind of baby entry into software, and you hook up your accounts. But here's the thing. You cannot be a lazy Mint user. So there are all these people out there who are like, oh yeah, I use Mint.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, just hooking up my accounts, but then not looking at it, categorizing my things, pulling reports so that I see my averages.
And here's what I want to do. I want to be really realistic with you guys. If you just use Mint now to like start out the process, great. Just get on something like that and just start the process of being a little more financially aware.
Exactly.
You may not be ready to lose 70 pounds yet, but are you ready to go for daily walks? Right?
And if you do that, if you use Mint and you say, okay, here's what I'm going to do, just every day or every couple of days, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to categorize the things that have happened the way I want to categorize them.
Yes.
It'll take you less than a minute to do it.
That's right.
But that will then mean if you come to take my class, it will then mean that you'll have information already.
This free class, just a reminder, free class.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So you have a company called Abundance Bound.
Yes. It's a financial empowerment program.
Great.
Right? And as I said it at one point when we were talking, I want us to start approaching this work like a gym, right? Where I'm not trying to cram it all in.
Sure.
I'm really trying to work on my health on a regular basis. And so what I have been committed to, Abundance Bound has been around for 16 years. What I've been committed to is offering this education at a price that means it's not money that's keeping you from looking at your money.
Great.
Okay.
I love that.
So first of all, as Audrey has shared, we have a contract with the Actors Fund. So you can start if you are in New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles by taking my core curriculum
Great.
for free.
Great.
And we've created it purposely to be a community,
Yes,
right?
right.
Of people where there is weekly accountability and you can talk to other people. But the other thing about it, which actually annoys some people,
Okay.
is that the coursework, you have to take a week to do each module.
Yes.
You can't just binge it all, right? And the reason for that is because we need time
Yes.
to, let's not just get inspired.
I know.
Let me apply this in my life this week.
But see how she said what we talked about earlier, which is not just being inspired, but really being inspired and then changing your behavior at whatever pace or increment you can do so that you can start to see the results in a changed behavior. Right.
Right. And
Love that.
so it has to be that we're making changes that are forever.
Yes.
It has to be that we're willing to be constantly growing and learning.
Growing, you guys. I just want you to think like you don't hit, just ask anyone, ask literally anyone. You don't hit an amount of money where then you're like, done.
Right.
Donezo. Never worrying about money. Plenty of people I know who have lots of money are constantly thinking and worrying about money and growing money.
Right.
Okay.
And here's my mission, right? First of all, the programming starts with a whole 6-week mindset program because mindset does
So big.
matter most. It's so huge, right?
Get out of the poverty cycle. It's mindset.
But my mission is I truly imagine a world where there is a community of artists, a community of actors who have all decided to be financially powerful and to continually support each other in being financially powerful.
Love it. Love it. So you guys, Miata's coming back. And the mission to this is that Miata is a woman who is an actress. She's been acting for a long time. And she had made a shift in her time and energy being spent to focus on financial well-being, to focus on family. Her family has gotten to her kids are of an age now where she's not permanently worried about making sure they don't run into traffic.
Exactly.
Right. And that's an important step. And also looking at trends, Miata, you are a woman of color of a certain age. You can see on her Instagram, Abundance Bound, and see that is true. And looking at now the very viable marketplace for her and her product as an actress and her artistry and expression to be exchanged for money. So we are going to talk about that because I'm really passionate about parents coming back.
Yes.
I'm really passionate about actors having taken a different priority shift. You've never stopped acting. You've just put a little bit of a focus somewhere else for a while. And how we can help Miata move that focus and energy maybe back to acting in a way that will garner her what she has acknowledged is this understanding of herself, of the success ahead.
Yeah. And I am so excited about
I'm so
this.
excited.
And I am so ready.
Yeah, I can tell
And
you
I
are.
feel like I have set up my life to do this differently and to receive.
Let's do it.
So, yes.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Miata. I
Thank
so
you.
appreciate your time. You guys, she's a busy lady, so I'm very grateful that she came. Next week on Audrey Helps Actors, we're talking to Avital Ash. I don't know. That sounds like I said her name weird. Avital Ash. It's not Ash. I think it's just Ash. Okay. So Avital is a listener, fan of the podcast. She is a writer, an actress, a comedian. She has had her scripts be bought, sold, produced, and she has been with some of the top agencies in the world. And we are going to talk about the shit show that is that process, because so many of you are dreaming of your Phoebe Waller-Bridge moment. And we're just going to talk about what that looks like, what creating your own projects looks like in a sort of representation and on the ground level. We talk about her career now and the journey that she's had so far. And I think it's such a perfect piggyback to this episode. So super excited. Love you guys the most. And shout out to Miata. I can't wait for you guys to hear Miata's Leveling Up episode. It's so good. And I just feel like we are on the mission. We are going to be financially educated as a community. Tally-ho! Big thanks to our first draft editor, Patricia Cuffie-Jones. That's Cuffle Sauce. What's up, Cuffie? I love her. We haven't even met yet, you guys, but we feel a join to each other at our hearts. Also, Thomas Hank Snodgrass. He doesn't live across the street anymore, but luckily the internet exists. And also to my executive producer and husband, still so handsome, you guys, Jesse Lumen, the one, the only, the rock star. Show music is brought to you by Ari De Niro, and our theme song Assistance is still brought to you by Aalok Mehta and 108 Hill. Aalok Mehta, whose wife, Anisha, who is a guest on this podcast, will be opening on Broadway in New York City, 2020. All right, you guys, don't forget your towel.